Good evening, one and all. It is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on the East Coast. It is 5 o'clock on the West Coast, and it is Real Money Coach time. It is time for our live show coming to you on Facebook and YouTube. And we are ecstatic that you are here with us to get some knowledge. Listen, we're about to get some more knowledge in this thing called cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about the tax implications of it. We've had some dynamite shows. We have had Pastor Casey Kimbrell. We've had Janice, the Rainmaker, on last week. And tonight we have a tax pro that's going to be with us. And so we're bringing you all the information as it relates to cryptocurrency. Hottest thing going on in investments. Listen, before I could even say it, Dr. Benita Harris put in hello from Charlotte, North Carolina, wherever you are watching from. Please put that in the chat box there so that we can say hello, know where you're watching from, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube. I don't know how you're coming at us, but we're glad you're here. Miss Ruth Bell, good evening. Glad to have you in the house tonight as well. It has been, I've had a busy day. It seems like it was full from beginning to end, but this is the greatest way to cap my day off in terms of spending it with the Real Money Coach family from coast to coast. Listen, I think maybe we could do something fun here. Maybe we could do something fun. I'm going to do this on the behalf of my good friend, Michelle Mitchell, my co-host that hangs out with me every week. In the chat box, don't just put where you are watching from, but put the temperature, to put how many degrees you're living in, right? So whatever degrees you happen to be living in, whatever the temperature is outside, put it in the chat box. I want to know how cold it is or how warm you are, whatever that happens to be. So y'all indulge with me there. So maybe we'll have a prize for whoever's in the coldest temperature, whoever's is in the warmest temperature. I don't know. Maybe we'll do something fun like that. But put it in the chat box. Let's get some engagement going about where you are at and how cold or warm it happens to be in your neck of the woods. Listen, we have a lot of great things to talk about. We got 48 degrees here in Charlotte. Where else? Come on, there's somebody else outside of Charlotte that's watching. Let us know what it's like where you're at. How warm or cold does it happen to be in your city? Whether that's in the United States or maybe you're watching from another country. I don't know. But just let us know what the temperature is. I might get jealous. Somebody put 84 degrees up in there. If you happen to be in Florida or somewhere like that, I want to know. So without any further ado, I want to bring on to the stage my co-host, Miss Michelle Mitchell. Michelle, how you doing?
Doing good, Tony. How you doing this evening?
All right. Now tell me again. You told me a few minutes ago. What's the temperature in Kalamazoo?
8 degrees.
8 degrees. Mm-hmm. That's a whole 40 degrees colder than we are here in Charlotte.
Yes.
That's why this needs to be the winter home of the Mitchells.
That's right. It's going to be
the winter home of the Mitchells. So,
yes, it will be.
You said it will be. You know, that's a definite. So
it's a definite.
So Michelle, what have you been thinking about these last shows we had? We've been talking about this thing called crypto. We talked about hyperverse. We talked about blockchain technology. What's your take on it? Give us what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I don't know a lot about it. So I'm out here learning like everybody else.
And that's the thing. Me too. Just learning a lot and kind of enjoying what I'm learning.
Yeah.
What I'm finding out here.
Because obviously it's going to be like our future. So
right.
Yeah. So we got to start learning about it.
And I think you text me about the New York mayor.
Yes, I did text you about
Yeah.
the New York
So,
mayor.
so tell us about what's going on with the New York mayor.
Well, you guys know that the New York has a new mayor. He got his first paycheck last week, and he asked for his paycheck to be given to him in cryptocurrency because he's open to new technologies, and he wants New Yorkers to be open to new technologies. So that
Wow.
was interesting, right? Yeah.
Andre Brown in California, what's your temperature out there? I see you checking in saying hello. What's the temperature out in California right now? What many degrees are you guys sitting? Yeah, I thought that was very interesting
Yeah.
that he's taking his and I actually dug into it a little bit, did a little research on it. He's taking his first 3 paychecks
Mhm.
in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
In particular, well, here's
75?
75
Where
degrees.
he at?
He's in California. What city in
I
California?
need to move there.
What city you in? I think he's in Palm Springs, California, I believe, something like that. That might be close,
Yeah.
but I believe it's Palm Springs, California.
It's supposed to get down to like 5 tonight and like 0 in a couple nights. So
Yeah, that's cold. That's cold. I don't miss that cold, that bone chilling cold.
yeah.
Government regulations won't actually allow them to pay him in crypto. So what he's got to
So he had
do,
to convert it.
he's got to get it, and then he's got to use one of the exchanges,
Mhm.
the crypto exchanges, and he's converting it into Bitcoin and Ethereum. So
Okay.
those are the 2 coins that he's going to be using,
Mhm.
and he's getting his first 3 paychecks that way.
Wow.
Now, I grew up, well, I didn't grow up, but I grew up in Muskegon, right?
Mhm.
But before my adult years, my formative adult years were in Jackson, Michigan.
Mhm.
And so the mayor in Jackson, Michigan probably makes, I don't know, maybe 30 grand.
Mhm. Right.
It's a part-time job, right? It's
A
considered a
part-time.
part-time job.
Well,
It's
the
not
mayor
even a
in
full-time
Jackson
job.
need to be full-time.
Huh?
The mayor in Jackson need to be
Yeah,
full-time.
it need to be full-time, but it's a part-time job, right?
Okay.
So you get this wonderful title, but you a part-time dude
Right.
making less than $30,000 a year.
Oh my
By the
god.
way, congratulations, they have their first Black mayor ever. But anyway, my point was, I mean, the mayor of New York, what does the mayor of New York make?
I know. Several hundred
You got to guess?
thousand? Probably 2 to 300?
You right on it. Man, you're the
Really?
numbers person. Come on, Mitchell, was $285,000.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And so my point is, though, he's not just taking a little bit of
Yeah, that's not chump change.
chump change
Yeah.
and putting it into this cryptocurrency thing. I mean, that's sizable, right?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
3 3 paychecks or 3 months?
3 paychecks.
3
Now, I don't
paychecks.
know how frequently he's paid,
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
but
Well, it could be upwards of $30,000 to $40,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he wants to say that they're open to
Yeah.
crypto.
Mhm.
Pretty amazing. Pretty
It is.
amazing. A lot going on in this space.
Yeah, it is.
So, so last week we had the Rainmaker on.
Mhm.
She came on. She done dazzle people. People
Right.
like the Rainmaker. She's making a little bit of money
Yeah.
doing this. I know other people who are making a little bit of money doing this.
Mhm.
And so the question then becomes, this money that you're making, how is it going to be taxed?
Yeah.
And I think someone, and I believe it was Alice that put in, it's like, what
Mm.
about the taxes on the
Mhm.
crypto? And Janet simply say, I just pay the tax.
I just pay the taxes, right.
But she's making $1,300 a day
Right.
on the platform that she's on.
Right.
So I would pay taxes too.
Right.
Keep on making my $1,300 a day.
Right.
But very interesting. I talked to someone else today, another client, had a friend put in 10,000 and they said they're paying off their house this year. So people
Wow.
are doing well at it.
Mhm.
I think George calls it the Wild Wild West. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's more regulation
Hmm.
and just go in. By the way, Michelle, he's going to be our guest next week.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Dr. Frazier is going to be our
Yay.
guest next week. He's going
Nice.
to wrap up this whole conversation
Okay.
about cryptocurrency. And guess what else he's going to be doing? He's also going to be a guest speaker at the book launch.
Right.
So
I knew he would.
let me tell you this is who we got at the book launch so far. We got Dr. George Frazier is going to be there.
Mhm.
AJ Joyner, he's a book publisher, solid guy, right?
Mhm.
And then we have Jerome Davis from the Black Couples Getaway.
Yeah.
We have Megan and Reagan Lynch, the co-founders, them along with Jacob and Adrian Sloan of the first Forex trading platform. So they're going to be with us. And then we're going to have Alistair Edwards, real big in Legal Shield, is going to be with us. And then we have Dr. Dennis Kimbrell, the author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, is going to be with us.
Nice.
And so we got some people that's going to come along and have a good time with us at the book launch.
Yay.
So make sure, if you're watching tonight, that you register for the book launch that will take place on my birthday. What day is my birthday, Michelle?
February 22nd.
You remember. Oh, that's sweet. So on February 22nd. So,
and what do you always say about your birthday?
What do I always say about my birthday?
About us as a group.
Oh, that I'm happy to be the baby of the group. Right. I am the youngest. So y'all, Michelle, her husband, my wife, and Antonio, Michelle's husband, and myself, I'm the baby of the group. So, and I constantly remind them of that.
Constantly reminds us
that I am the youngin of the group. So, so I have fun doing that.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, I am ready to bring out our guest tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about Stephen Hutchinson, right? So this is now I want him to break this down, because this is how he says: born in 1959 in New York City with X-ray vision, able to see through most people. He went through 50 states of meditation, if I got that right, meditation to realize his mission, and now here he is as a tax pro, public speaker, author, financial literacy advocate, and agitator for the progress of Black people. Let me welcome Stephen, always the rebel, Hutchinson, to our show.
Come on, Steve.
There we go. See, hey, I almost got through that introduction, man. How you doing? You look ready to throw some blows, man.
That's right, man. It gotta be, right? It gotta be.
Oh, well, man, welcome to the Real Money Coach Show, man. It's so good to have you here, to be a part of this mission that we're on, to educate our people, on this new technology and all that. And once we get through this, we'll be switching to some other things throughout the year, but we wanted to start the year off this way. And Stephen and I, for those of you, we met through the Generational Wealth Alliance that we are participating in on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. with Dr. George Frazier, Janice Leake, and a whole bunch of other great folks. And Stephen is part of that group. You're there every single week. I don't think I've been there and you've missed. I've missed a couple, but you're there every single week.
Well, you've been there a lot longer than me, but definitely, I think it's incredible value there, and the access to all of these different personalities who are bringing so much to the table. It's just an absolute incredible opportunity. So I am enthusiastic about being there.
So how did you get introduced to the group?
Actually, that's a good question. How did I get introduced to the group? Was it? It may have been through Dr. Fraser.
I was thinking that it
I
probably
mean,
was.
I've known Dr. Fraser for a few years now. How I still can't remember exactly how I got to that platform.
Yeah,
But
you probably got an email from George. I'm sure 'cause
Right.
he be sending them out.
yeah, because I'm also part of Fraser Nation.
Okay.
Right. So, like being in those circles, some kind of way, I discovered the generational wealth platform and just dived in. And
There
just,
you go. Okay. Now, have you participated in have you been to the Power Networking Conference or
no,
any?
I have not.
Okay.
Not yet. I've not yet been to a power
yet.
networking.
We gotta get y'all there. We gotta get y'all there. It's a
absolutely.
powerful event.
Yeah, I did the online one last year. So
Okay.
Yeah, and it was good, wasn't it?
yeah, it
a
was
lot.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in person is awesome. So hopefully this
It's
Corona
in
thing
Houston. It's in Houston this year, right?
is in Houston again this year.
Okay.
And so I believe, if my memory serves me correct, we're Houston this year, probably Houston next year to kind of fulfill the contract with the hotel and all that. And then it's either going to be South Africa. And after South Africa, then it will come to Charlotte.
Mm.
So
Okay.
we'll be in Charlotte for a few years. And so we're kind of looking forward to that. I think that's the way we're laying it out, the way George has got it laid out. So Stephen, tell us a little bit about you, your background,
Okay.
and that type of thing. And then we're going to get into some topics tonight.
Yeah. Well, actually, my background, I'm originally from New York City, as you mentioned in my bench role there. Grew up in New York City, was exposed to a lot of diversity, a lot of variety coming up in New York, exposed to a lot of stress and anxiety as well. And by the age of 25, I decided I needed to escape from New York because it just became so suffocating being there, overcrowded, overpriced. So I needed to get out. So that was the beginning of my expanding myself and learning and traveling. And actually, one of the first places I traveled to was Houston, Texas, when I was about 21 years old. That's one of the very first places I voluntarily left New York at the age of 21 and went to Houston, Texas, and stayed there for a year and came back. Now, I've always had a very interesting concern and desire to understand money, right? Was never very good at making money, but I always wanted to understand what it was. So I actually went to a business school and so forth and was learning about money, talking about money and so forth. And gradually, as I matured, I found that there was a way in which I could enter into the financial industry through tax returns, through learning about taxes, and through doing tax returns for individuals. Because of my interest in money, I realized that taxes are the fundamental basis. That's the baseline for making money. If you make money, there's going to be taxes. So it's also, I discovered there's a low bar to become a tax professional, right? I'm not an accountant, I'm a tax pro. So my focus is on tax returns in particular. So I also found out the bar was relatively low. For instance, I could take a course at H&R Block for 3 months, pay them $300 and get a certification to be a tax professional, which is exactly what I did. And I worked for H&R Block for 1 year. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to expand myself. So I worked for another tax company in New York for 2 years. Then after that, it's like, you know what? I want to go into this industry because I'm able to talk about money. I'm able to analyze money, study money, and in this way also communicate with people, in particular with my people, about the subject of money. And then I realized by doing that, I would actually be able to sit down with my people and talk about money, which is something which we rarely do as a culture. But here we are, we have to do your tax return. So now we have to talk about money. And in that way, I eventually created a scenario. I have a small company called Powertax Ltd. So what I did is I took the concept of doing taxes and added financial literacy. I said, I'm sitting here, I'm doing a person's taxes. We're talking about money. I know how people need financial literacy. So why don't I add that element to the tax return process? And I did. And the results have been quite satisfactory for all of my people, all of my clients. They really appreciate the financial literacy aspect of us doing their tax returns. So I put that together, and now I am developing that as we go along.
Well, Stephen, that's pretty awesome because I can tell you, I used to do some taxes back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
Well, actually, Michelle,
we did VITA.
Yeah. We did VITA. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Okay, yes, that's the voluntary service.
Yeah, that's the voluntary income tax service. Yeah. And we had a mentor. She was an IRS agent. And so we did taxes at a church in Kalamazoo. Yeah. And, that's kind of, was one of our volunteer community service type of thing, because it was mainly designed to serve, underserved people. Right. So that they didn't have to go to H&R Block and pay a lot of money to get their taxes done. But I find that very interesting, and that you incorporated the financial literacy, because tax returns in many cases, I mean, I'm not talking about the complex returns, like Michelle's, I'm talking about simple returns, right? Simple, easy, 1040, easy, right? Just a 1040, itemizing, none of that, no Schedule C and all that kind of stuff, can be very transactional, right? Bring your return, bring your W-2s, sit down, get the return popped out in, 20, 30 minutes, pay your thing or sign your refund over, rapid deposit or whatever, rapid refund. It can be very transactional. And so I think that's very interesting how you said that you wanted to take that and you incorporated financial literacy with it. And so tell us a little bit about how that actually looks with a client. What do you do to do that financial literacy piece?
Okay. So actually, number one is I take my time with my clients. So I don't have a tax mill. I'm not like, we got to hurry up because we need to do more. We need to turn over. We need to profit. I had to change that whole model. So that is not our model. First thing is, it's personal. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation. And then I'm basically in control of the conversation because I'm the interviewer. So I'm the one that's asking the questions. So in addition to asking the pertinent questions about the data that goes on your tax return, I also introduced the 3 immutable, irrefutable financial principles in conversation to them. Those basic ideas are about saving, budgeting, investing, and starting a business. Okay, so I introduced this in the conversation, and some people take the bait, some don't, but most do. And then I begin to talk about planning ahead. What is the next year going to look like on your tax return? What are your ambitions? What are your goals? Do you have fundamental things like an emergency savings? See, I can ask all these questions because we're having a conversation about your money. Now, mind you, in addition to that, once I complete a person's tax return, I print it out, put it before them, and go over the tax return line by line and answer all their questions. And because that is also something that they have never experienced before. All the years that some of my clients have been doing taxes, no one has ever actually went over the tax return line by line to explain, where do these numbers come from? I mean, I know, what it is, and I know what my refund is going to be. But what I do is I'm going to tell you why you're getting a refund. I'm also going to tell you why you may not be getting one next year. Or you understand? So in this way, I'm like stirring it up, and many of them really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can imagine your retention and people coming back probably quite a bit, because they're getting more than just the tax return, right?
Right.
They're getting that education. They're getting that. Now, I know that you also have your 3-minute money that you do on YouTube. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
That's right. So in addition to this, I was thinking, like, how can I and what can I do to spread my money class? I came up with this idea for what's called the money class. And originally I was doing the money class. It was an hour long money class every other Saturday. I was doing money classes and on Zoom and inviting people to come to those. So I developed the idea after that what about if I had a YouTube channel whereby I could have the money classes saved together so people could access them anytime, because by having them on Saturday, some people can come, some people can't. So I decided to create a YouTube channel called the Money Class Channel. And what I do is I upload 3-minute videos on different financial tips, things about saving, budgeting, mindset, spending habits, investing, starting businesses, taxes, crypto. So the videos are very short. They're only 3 minutes, because I realize, about the attention span of most of us when it comes, especially to subjects like money, which we're not so used to talking to. But these are digestible, small, digestible nuggets whereby people can be stimulated to actually ask themselves some serious questions and begin to change their financial habits. Because I know as a people, that's absolutely necessary for us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And here's the thing, and I think you've kind of hit on some things that kind of are near and dear to Michelle and I. You talked about savings and budgeting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you talked about starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of want to follow up a little bit on that. Tell me a little bit. I mean, why is those 3 things in particular so important? And maybe touch on a little bit about the tax benefits of having a business.
Oh, okay. Well, just on that note right there about the tax benefits of having a business, basically, if you don't have a business, tax benefits are pretty much non-existent,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. I mean, it's just like a borderline thing. Whatever you have, if you're getting the earned income credit or the child tax credit or the educational credit or the dependent care credit, there's just certain things. Either you qualify or you don't. There's no real manipulation. You don't really have much room for manipulation and or control. And of course, now under the latest tax bill, the Jobs Act and tax cut bill, itemized deductions are going to be very, very rare.
Yeah, and I've had that conversation with people. Is like, itemized, like, well, itemizing under the current tax law, really for most people is non-existent. So, it used to be one of those things that we would tell people in this arena, don't pay off your house because you can write off all of that interest.
Right.
Well, that's not true anymore. And it's good just to be debt free anyway. But but some of those type of things. So I'm a business. If I'm a business owner, what advantage do I have when it comes to this tax thing?
Well, the fundamental difference between being an employee and being self-employed. Now, mind you, there's another thing called being a business owner. I separate those actually in the cash flow quadrant as taught by Robert Kiyosaki. which his rich dad taught him about. In the cash flow quadrant, you have 4 different quadrants. You have the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. Now, for years, I could not understand the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. I always thought it was the same thing.
Okay, let me do this because I like Kiyosaki. I think we're on to something here. Okay, tonight we're gonna do something here. But we're gonna do it from. I'm hopefully the nerd is not coming out. We're gonna do it from a tax standpoint. So as an employee, let's talk about that from taxes, and then as you're doing, move it to the self-employed, and then I think we'll go to the business owner, and then what everybody came here to find out about is the investor, in particular the crypto investor. So kind of let's just follow that path.
Okay. So for the employee, basically the employee doesn't really have much control over their tax situation. Their income comes through a payroll system by their employer. And they're obligated. There are laws. So they have to pay their Medicare tax. They have to pay their Social Security tax. They have to pay federal income tax. They have to pay state income tax. They have to pay future tax. They have to pay local tax, depending on the area that they're in. And now the employee does have room when they do this form. They fill out a form called the W-4. They can actually pretty much dictate to the employer how much withholdings they should take out of their check. They can do that, but it doesn't really change how much tax they're going to owe.
Right.
So if they don't pay enough in the payroll, they're going to have to pay at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or if they pay too much, which a lot of people do, they get what's called a refund. They're being refunded their own money. It's not like
without interest.
Without interest.
Without interest. Yes.
How in the world can you hold my money for a year and not even give me no interest?
Yeah.
Well, that's called the United States government.
Yes.
That's what it's called. That's how they roll. Right?
Yes.
So as the employee, also, you may be having money taken out of your paycheck for retirement, for health insurance, for Roths, for 401ks. All these things can be taken out, but these are also government programs. So again, there's very limited room there for the employee, right? And if the employee is doing things like buying uniforms and manuals and things like that, then they'll try to do the itemized deduction. But because the standard deduction has been raised,
right,
very few people are going to be able to have enough itemized deduction to overcome that. So that's the employee. Also, with the employee comes the employee mindset, which is more. That's more of an emotional attachment to being used to having a predictable weekly or bi-weekly or monthly income.
Very low risk.
Yes, exactly. Very low risk and a somewhat dependent state where we're dependent on the employer. You know, please treat me right. You know, treat me right. You know what I'm saying? Like, treat me right. Please treat me right. Treat me right. You know, So that's the employee. Now, next is the self-employed. Now, the self-employed person, in that sense, is literally what it says, self-employed. What you're actually doing is you're creating your own job. Okay? So, which is different from, again, starting a business. So, as the self-employed person is like the independent thinking, whereas the employee, generally speaking, is more dependent. You know, like wants to fit in, wears the company uniform and, you know, rah for the company, got to represent the company and all that. But the self-employed is usually like a little bit more independent and they want their own. I want my name on my company. I want to be the boss. I'm the big chief. I'm making the decision. I'm washing the bottles, mopping the floors, taking the accounts, you know, opening the bank accounts. I'm getting my LLC. I'm like, I'm it. I'm the Superman or the Superwoman. Okay. So the difference in their tax situation, though, is that the self-employed person gets to take their income and gets to expend their expenses before they get taxed. So they are taxed after their expenses. So their money comes right into them directly, and they get to spend it in order to increase their income, but they get to deduct that money before they get taxed. But the self-employed person is also plagued with a thing called the self-employment tax. And usually the self-employed person has a Schedule C. So her business or his business is going to be on a Schedule C. The Schedule C is a profit loss statement, shows your income, your expenses. And the Schedule C generates the self-employment tax, which is 15.3%. So now, instead of having a payroll company as your employer taking out the taxes, you or me as a self-employed person has to make sure we pay our taxes. And there's a couple of ways we could do that. Right?
And it's paid on the net income after your expenses.
Yes.
And the other thing about this that we got to remember, that 15.3%, you would have been paying half of that anyway. You would have been paying, 7.65% of that as an employee, because they would be taking that part out of your check. Anyway, so it's not as drastic, but it feels big.
Yeah.
Right.
But now, and you do, as a self-employed person, get to deduct half of that.
Half of that. Right.
So you get to deduct half of that above the line. It's an above the line deduction. So you do get to deduct half of that, and good for us, good for me, or good for whoever is doing that. But so now going to the more of the emotional state of the self-employed person really cannot expand very far because they are limited to their own productivity.
You're coming down your street, Michelle.
That's right.
Down your street, driving down your street.
Yep.
Right? So that can be ultimately overwhelming. It can be overwhelming unless that's our goal. I mean, if a person's goal is, I just want to have, my 50 clients or my 100 clients, and I'm just going to do that every year, I'm good. I'm not looking forward to no expansion or anything like that. Then it could be a comfortable place for some people, right? If that's what they want and that's where they want to be. But due to the nature of the economy, inflation, fluctuation, it's often not an ideal place to be. As a matter of fact, Lamar Tyler, who started a company called Traffic Sales and Profit, he quoted some statistics that there are approximately 2 million Black-owned businesses in America. About 90% or more, might be closer to 95%, are single member LLCs. Single member LLC.
We said this way, like the E quadrant, the job owns you. The S quadrant, you own the job.
Yes.
There's still a job there. So let's move over to the B. Tell us a little bit about the B.
Okay. Now the B, which is the business owner, is actually is a graduation from the self-employed, and it's a graduation in mentality as well, because in the B quadrant, what a business owner does, as opposed to working inside of their company, like the self-employed person, they step outside and they create systems that others can execute.
Yes.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
My sweet spot.
Yes, but you're going to say?
No, I said that's my sweet spot.
Yes. So the emphasis for the business owner is to create the systems that others can follow, to create an infrastructure. As a matter of fact, one of my teachers mentioned to me, said, if you really want to have a very successful tax company, you should not know how to do taxes. And what your job is to create the environment where people can come in and process tax returns. But you shouldn't be doing it, because the question always is, are you working in your business, or are you working on your business?
Right.
And can you actually do both? So that can be a conflict of interest. One of my another friend of mine who owns a business also said one day he was doing some work in his business, and one of the contractors went by and asked him. He said, what is it you're doing? He said, oh, I'm doing, I don't know what he was doing, some kind of work that he was doing. And so the man asked him, oh, really? Then who's running your business?
Right.
And he said for years he didn't understand what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
And then gradually we talked about it. He says, now I know what he meant.
Yeah.
But when he said it, I didn't know what he meant. In other words, if you're working in your business, you're probably not working on it.
Right.
Right.
So for the business owner, there's also a completely different tax implication for business owners, because now you're talking about shares in a company, stocks in a company, equity in the company, and you're taking advantage of all the different things, OPM, you're taking advantage of other people's skills, other people's contacts, other people's networks, other people's associates, other people's friends, other people's skills, other people's money. You're taking advantage of a completely different realm of opportunity. Yeah. So the business owner's access to opportunity, as well as access to tax benefits, far outshine the possible tax benefits a self-employed person could have.
Right.
All right. So now let's move down to this investor quadrant, the I quadrant. Talk to us a little bit about that from an investment standpoint. And then we want to really drill down and find out some things about how this cryptocurrency and some of these types of things are going to be taxed.
So the investor is more of the visionary. The investor is the engine that actually runs those other three quadrants. Because the employees, those companies need investors. They need funding, right? They get loans, they get business loans, they get grants or whatever they could get, or they get private equity loans or whatever they may get. Similarly, the self-employed person also needs an infusion of revenue and investments, and so do the business owners. So the investor, as opposed to doing the mechanics of the business owner or the self-employed or the employee, actually looks at the bigger picture and realizes there are opportunities here. And usually the investors, we're talking about accredited investors in particular. These are people who have capital. They have significant amounts of capital, and they can infuse companies with this capital, and their returns can be astronomical in very short periods of time. They can also lose a lot of money in very short periods of time as well. Sure. But if they are calculating correctly or accurately, they can infuse these others by investing in businesses, investing in startups, investing in stocks, investing in bonds, investing in equities, investing in commodities, investing in crypto, investing in blockchain, there's so many different ways in which one can invest. And the principle of investing is, of course, your money should be working harder. In other words, in that quadrant, they think of money as being fertile. You want your money to basically be fertile, not infertile. It should be fertile. It should always be multiplying and duplicating.
Working, bringing back more of its kind.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, that you said you in that stage, you are becoming like a surgeon with your money. Your accuracy is surgical accuracy. You use your money like a weapon. You weaponize your finances. You see your target, you aim your target, you send that money there, and that money comes running back to you with a whole lot more money because of your accurate analysis.
Right.
Absolutely.
And there are great tax benefits for investors as well. So the best tax benefits are on the right side of the quadrant, not the wrong side or the left side. So on the left side, you got the employee or the self-employed. They have some tax benefits too, but nothing like on the right side of the quadrant, the business owners and the investors. And also from a percentage perspective, 95%, quote unquote, are on the left side of the quadrant of the population, on the left side of the quadrant. And more like 5% are on the right side of the quadrant.
Very few take advantage of all those tax benefits that are on that right side of the quadrant, being the business owner and investor.
Yes,
right.
sir.
So a lot of people want to know this. They want to know if I invest in Bitcoin, I invest in Ethereum, I invest in some of these types of cryptocurrencies, blockchain type technology. How is that going to be treated, Stephen, on my taxes? I mean, if I invest in Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up, and now my Bitcoin it was worth 5,000. Now it's worth 10,000. How is that going to impact me from an income tax standpoint?
Okay, so the first thing is on your tax return, there is a very direct question. And that direct question is, have you purchased, acquired, used, sent, spent any what the IRS calls virtual currency? They call it virtual currency. They also call it cryptocurrency, but they call it virtual currency. So it's on your tax return. The question is there. So that obviously means they are monitoring this situation. Okay, it's being monitored. It's not like the way we used to think of cryptocurrency as being some underground kind of thing. It's no longer underground. It's not only on the dark web.
It's on the table now.
That's
it's
right.
On the table, right.
It's recognized by Congress. It's recognized by the IRS. It's recognized by the Treasury. Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
in Miami, the mayor of Miami, Suarez, he has created the Miami coin, cryptocurrency in Miami, and he also is seeking to be paid in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, he was before the New York mayor, and he did one check. So the New York mayor said, "Well, I gotta. If you're gonna do one in Miami, I'm gonna do 3 in New York, right?" So
yes. So now, as far as the tax implications of cryptocurrency, yes, there are tax implications. Okay, there are basically 3 triggers for being taxed on crypto.
Okay.
And those the 3 triggers are: number 1, if you spend cryptocurrency, whatever kind of cryptocurrency you have, that triggers a taxable event. These are basically 3 taxable events. When you spend it and you buy something with it, that's a taxable event. Number 2, when you trade crypto from one crypto to another crypto, that's a taxable event. Taxable event number 2. Taxable event number 3 is when you convert your crypto into fiat currency. So if you take your Bitcoin or your Ethereum or your Litecoin or your Dogecoin or your Shiba Inu and you convert it into cash, that's a taxable event. So those are 3 very specific taxable events.
And the amount of taxes is going to be based on what you bought that currency with versus when you exit out of that.
So now cryptocurrency or virtual currency is considered to be property. We think of it as money. We speak of it as money. The IRS doesn't identify it as currency. They identify it as property, as a capital asset. The same way they view
it's a capital asset.
Yes, the same way they view a stock.
Mm-hmm.
So on that point though, and this is the thing, is if you hold that crypto for more than 12 months, 13 months, now it can be treated as capital gains rather than ordinary income. Would that be true, Stephen?
Yeah, it is. It is treated as capital because it's a capital asset. So it is treated as capital when you are using it. It is treated as capital. When you are receiving it, it's treated as ordinary income.
Got it.
Right. So if I sell my iPad and somebody gives me, some Satoshis or some Ethereum for that, that's just considered to be income. What's the cost basis? The cost basis is whatever value it was at when the transaction happened. So when I received that Ethereum, how much was Ethereum worth? So that's why when you talk about the tax implications of crypto, you need to know two things. You need to know your cost when you acquired it, and you need to know its worth when you got rid of it. You need to know those two things, and then then it will be determined whether or not you had a capital gain
or loss.
Or you had a capital loss.
Okay.
Right.
Then the other is whether or not it was a short-term gain or a short-term loss, or a long-term gain or long-term or short-term gain. So that has to do with time. If it's over a year, it's long-term. If it's less than a year, it's short-term. And short-term capital gains are based on your ordinary income bracket.
So buy and hold to give you the more favorable tax treatment as it relates to cryptocurrency. So, if you can buy it, hold it for a year, you're going to get a better tax rate on it than you would if you did it within 6 months or what have you, as far as the tax.
Yes, because the long-term capital gains rates are 0, 15, and 20%.
Okay, 0 for up to how much, Stephen?
I think single is like up to 40,000, and married filing joint is up to 80,000.
So listen, people, this is what he's saying. if you have cryptocurrency and you gain $80,000 as a married filing joint, and you could cash in up to $80,000 of cryptocurrency long-term gain. That means you've held it for a year.
Not quite.
Not quite?
No, that 40,000 and that 80,000 is your ordinary income bracket. So if you earn $40,000 or less, and you're single, you will not pay.
You're talking about your AGI. You're talking about
you will not pay any capital gains tax.
Okay. All right.
Right.
You won't pay any capital gains tax.
So is there exclusion on the capital gain side?
Is there an exclusion?
Yeah, in terms of you can make so much capital gains and not pay any taxes, or it's just a matter of?
I think there's a limit. At some point there would actually, because there's also what's known as the alternative minimum tax.
Sure.
And the alternative minimum tax kicks in when, like, your tax breaks, according to the IRS, are just like out of control. They're like, nah. We know that we said that you ain't have to pay, but you're getting away with too much. So we got this alternative minimum tax calculation we're going to do on you. But basically, generally speaking, if you're single and you make $40,000 or less, your capital gains will not be taxed. 0.
Now, so if you are a business owner or self-employed person and you have enough write-offs, you could be in that bracket. I mean, just depends on where you're at. You could be in that bracket where if all of your income is coming from capital gains and your ordinary income is low, you could really be getting away with quite a bit of capital gains income and not pay zero tax on it.
Right.
If your ordinary income is low enough.
Right. Because those are the relationships. So the relationship is whether or not it's long-term or short-term, because that's long-term. Short-term, that's not the case. The $40,000, that's not.
Right.
With the short-term, you're going to just pay ordinary tax rates. So short-term capital gains don't have any tax implication.
No benefits. No benefits.
It's just ordinary.
Right.
Whereas with long-term, you have these three categories. You're either going to be taxed at 0, 15%, or 20%.
So the key there is, again, holding it for at least a year. But one of the things I want people to understand that's watching is, like, if you're in one of these platforms and you are you're buying crypto, you're investing in crypto, whichever coin that happens to be, if you're not spending it, if you're just growing it, you're not going to really pay any taxes along the way until you do one of those three events, like you buy something with it, like you mentioned, or you convert it to fiat money. Fiat money for everyone is like normal money, like dollars and dollar bills. Or the other one is if you exchange one coin for another. So if you're not doing any three of those things, all of this equity that you're gaining by holding and buying your cryptocurrency is not going to be taxed until you actually do one of those three things.
Right.
Okay. So now, if you are making earnings, right? If you are receiving earnings, for instance, from mining, staking, airdrops, or getting paid in crypto, that is taxed at ordinary income.
Sure.
That's taxed. That would be added to your income.
Yeah.
Like when you do your tax return, you're going to say, oh, I made, whatever, $5,000 in mining fees. I was mining some crypto and I made $50,000 or $5,000 or $10, whatever it was. That is going to be added to your income, and you would just be taxed at your ordinary rates.
Right. So you can't say, well, pay me in crypto so that you can avoid taxes. Whatever the value is that crypto at the time that you're paid with it is going to be ordinary income. It's ordinary income.
It's income. It's just like if you have stocks and you get a dividend, the dividend is income. Even if you may not spend it, but it's income. And therefore the platform, the brokerage is going to send you a 1099-B, right? Saying that, hey, he made some interest. I don't know what he did with it, but this is what he made. And that has to go on your tax return.
And that's really going to be kind of up to these exchanges to make sure that they're reporting that income for these for users so that they can then report that on their taxes.
So the IRS has already reached out to the major exchanges, right? Coinbase, Binance, Cash App. They already, got to them and told them that they have to issue 1099s.
Yep.
They have to issue them. And that way, we can keep a track. Because the IRS wants to know, like, what's going on.
That's how they track it. Yeah, that's how they track it.
They will.
And here's another thing that people have to understand this from a tax standpoint. If you're holding cryptocurrencies inside of a tax qualified plan, like so we've talked about self-directed IRAs, and then you're going to buy crypto with it. If you're holding it within that particular account, regardless of how long you had it, if it's inside of there, it's still going to be treated as ordinary income when you take it out, just because it doesn't supersede the tax qualified thing like a 401k or an IRA, those types of things. And so people have to remember that as well.
So now here the thing is, according to like these tax lawyers and CPAs and so forth, if you actually want to get tax-free gains, what you do is you do your crypto business and trading and so forth inside a Roth IRA.
Sure.
Mhm.
If you do it inside of a Roth, you're going to pay taxes when the money goes in.
Right.
Mhm.
But
Right.
but all the gains that you make within that account,
Well, if you are meeting
tax-free.
the qualifications for the tax-free withdrawal out of the Roth, which means that you've held it for more than 5 years and you're 59 and a half or older, and then
That's
there's a
right.
few other exceptions that will allow you to take it out. So if you're doing that and you're holding it, then you can absolutely. And the reason why that makes a lot of sense is from this standpoint is remember what you can put into a Roth, about $6,500 a year. It doesn't matter what it grows
Mhm.
to be tax free. So if I put 6,000 in and it grows to 100,000, that's still all tax free as long as I met those other qualifications.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So look, John Ray said, "Listen, get a business."
That's right.
You don't even need to have these conversations. Get a business, and you can minimize all of your tax liability.
Yeah.
Well, and I do want to say this. I do want to say to people, and I felt like a responsibility for us to bring this information about how, because we've had people on here talk about how much money they're making and doing cryptos and all that kind of stuff. And we wanted to, at the Real Money Coach, also be responsible to say, okay, this is how the money's going to be treated.
Right.
And the one thing that I want to say to people is get a tax professional.
That's right.
Get somebody
Yes,
who knows what they're doing so that they can file your taxes right. Now, as we conclude the show, Stephen, thank you. It's been a wealth of information. We went in a direction that I didn't expect, but it was very pleasing when we talk about the quadrants and how that's related to taxes. I talk a lot about it in terms of how it relates to retirement. And so you can take those things and you can adapt them to, your particular profession where you're expert, where you are a pro, So we appreciate it, man. And
it's been
and
good.
what's your contact information? If someone wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, I want this dude doing my taxes, I want to get a little financial education along the way, how do they reach you?
Well, the best way to reach me is call me. You call me at 610-955-6508. I said that is 610-955-6508. And just in case you are grabbing your pen, that is 610-955-6508.
Or you can simply email info@the-real-money-coach and I'll hook you up. I'll give you a number so you can get in touch with them. But man, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of great education tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so active in the chat, John Ray. Thomas Bird said earlier, the Generational Wealth Alliance is a group that formed to close the wealth gap by learning, earning, and returning the wealth to the next generation, and protecting yourself from tax liability is one of the pieces to do that. Because who was it? I think Dr. Inca said, we'll show you how to make the money, but Michelle will keep you out of jail, right? So Steve, we appreciate it, and sharing your wealth of information, man. It was golden.
It was great.
It was right on time. And actually, just to let the TRMC family know, we're going to have another tax person come in probably in March, when we're about a month away from the deadline, because we do think that this is important. Taxes are a big part. They're a big deal, right?
Absolutely.
And so we want to make sure that everyone gets the right information. Steve, any parting words as we head on out?
Well, actually, yes. My parting words are: this platform of financial literacy is absolutely essential. This is the revolution. This is the foundation of the revolution to make change. And also the blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. I know that, you know, most of us are in the mode of thinking of it as an investment and making a profit. But I just wanted to mention that I'm reading a book right now. It's called Bitcoin and Black America by Isaiah Jackson. Very important, very powerful piece of literature to help us understand the bigger picture, besides just making a profit right now, but the bigger picture of the implications of blockchain technology, NFTs, as well as cryptocurrency and smart contracts. We need to get ahead of this. This could be a great addition to our revolution, to the untelevised revolution.
Listen, man, that title got me all by itself.
Right.
Bitcoin in Black America.
Yes,
Good
sir.
enough. Good enough. I love it. I love it. Gonna have to check that book out for sure. Michelle, any parting words for our group, our audience tonight?
And this once again has been some great information. And you know, I always say take action on what you hear on this channel, because we be dropping dimes over here. So
Hey,
there you
listen, we're gonna have the real money coach coin, the TRMC.
That's right. I know.
Right,
You need
right.
a coin. You should find you a coin.
Dropping nuggets.
Yeah.
So listen, everybody, thank you. Remember, next week, Dr. George Frazier will be our special guest. And y'all know it's going to be fun when Dr. Frazier stops by the show, as he has done on a regular occasion, a couple times a year at least. So with that, I bid you good night. Remember, email us at info@therealmoneycoach. If you are interested in learning more about Bitcoin, we will send you some information. If you're interested in learning more about different platforms, Hyperverse in particular, just let us know, or email us if you want information. We'll make sure that we get you added to the email list for the Generational Wealth Alliance. And last of all, register. We're less than 4 weeks away from the book launch. And so we're going to have a great time. Make sure you register at ipadyourmoney.com. This is Tony Jackson. I'm your real money coach. Have a great